Hey guys, it's Packaday Magic here, and you're with just sort of an introductory video to what we're doing here and what we're all about. And so I just want to go with just the premise of the channel. The idea is, what would it be like if you walked into the store and you wanted to buy into Standard, and you did it the way Wizards wanted you to do it, Wizards of the Coast, that being. And I think it would look something like they would have you buy a booster box and then go through the booster box and build what you can. And then maybe they'd have you buy one pack a day and slowly upgrade from there. Maybe you pick up a challenger deck and then do, instead of the booster box, and do that from there. You know, I'm sure asking an employee would be, but the way the products are presented, it seems like this is how they would want you to do it. And if they were brought before, say, a government, they would say they want you to do it, because they refuse to acknowledge the secondary market for legal reasons. So I figured, you know what? Standard's a pile of garbage. That's just a nightmare. So let's buy a box and see what we can build out of it. So there's that. That's all open. It's all sorted. There's all the bulk and some couple interesting things in here. It's all sorted, and I built a deck out of it to start with, and we're going to be opening a pack a day to get it done. But before we do that, I just want to go through some of the notable cards that did not make it into the deck that I built. Endatha Triumph, simple reason, not on color. Most of these just because they're not on color. Lutri, on color. Don't really have a need for him. I had mostly creatures. This might give you a little tip. Most of these companions don't meet the criteria and also not in color. Well, this is on color, but it doesn't fit companion, and don't really have a use for the effect on a lot of ETBs. Now over to some of the mythics we got. Fiend Artisan. Get sort of that Tarmogoyf effect. +1/+1 for each creature. It's like someone stapled a Tarmogoyf to a birthing pod. Who thought this was a good idea, I don't know, but I'm glad because now I have it. Very selfish attitude right there. What is it, alt art? I don't know what to call it. I'm just gonna call it alt art borderless Narset. On color, I built the Jeskai deck. Didn't have that many non-creatures as I thought. I thought I would have more, but not. Sonorous Hallbonder. It's an uncommon, but I included it anyway because it's another deck that I'm thinking of building as I get more cards. Specifically, if I ever get to a 4-set of this guy, where it's Rakdos Menace Tribal. Definitely seems interesting, being able to swing around people's creatures and that type of thing. Eerie Ultimatum. It just allows you to bring everything back from the graveyard, all your permanents. Not on color, obviously. Actually, it only shares white. Song of Creation. I wish that was white instead of green, but you know what? There's a reason. There ain't no way that anyone's printing a white card that has draw 2 cards on it. Slitherwisp. I included it here because I think Dimir Flash is a direction I was thinking of going. There just wasn't enough support on it for what I got. Quartzwood Crasher. It's just an interesting card. If I ever find myself in a Gruul deck, I'll probably just include it because it's good. Skull Prophet. Similar thing, mana dork that can fill your graveyard. Again, if I ever find myself in black and green, which might be happening if I ever build around this guy, Brokos. our final mythic. Just uninteresting in my opinion. You can mutate him out of the graveyard, but once he's there, he's just a 6/6 trample. Pay 5 for a 6/6 over and over again, but you actually have to get it onto a creature though. Because the big thing with a lot of mutate stuff is that you get both the abilities, but his ability is only going to be relevant once it's already dead, at which point he's not going to be mutated anymore. So, unless you're a real big fan of a 6/6 trampler, that's just not there. So that's all the stuff that I didn't include in the deck. So let's start going through the actual deck. And we're just going to go in order of sort of how many of them are in the deck. We got 4 copies of Go for Blood. Functions as removal. We have a lot of creatures in here. Very conditional removal. Not going to be able to take out the big stuff, but it is going to be able to take out like smaller creatures, utility creatures. But it's mainly in here because it's got that 1 cycling. And so we got 4 of those. Next is Drannith Healer. Whenever you cycle another card, you gain 1 life, and it's got 1 cost cycling. If you haven't been able to tell yet, this is a Jeskai Cycling Deck. So we got 4 of those Drannith Healers. We got Startling Development. And this is mostly here for the 1 cycling. Probably gonna cut it later, but I've actually seen it being able to be used either for buffing one of our creatures or nerfing another one, and put them in the range that allows. I've chained this with Go for Blood a couple times. We got Drannith Stinger right here. Whenever you cycle another card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent with, again, the 1 cycling. Very important. And this is the 1 card in, well, it's actually 1 of 2 cards that has nothing to do with cycling. That's sort of not a 1-of. I mean, I butchered that right there. But Snare Tactician, whenever you cycle a card, tap target creature an opponent controls. Doesn't really have cycling on the cost, which is a big downside for me. I wish it was like at least, cycling 2. That would have gone a long way. But this is gonna allow the deck to handle larger creatures, even if only temporarily. It doesn't really handle abilities, which is a big problem. But we got 3 copies of Imposing Vantasaur. It's a 3/6. Our biggest creature, except that we're going to be running in terms of toughness. It's a 3. It's good for defense if for some reason we get to 6 mana and are not ready to finish out the game. But it's mostly there for that 1 cycling cost, just filling up our graveyard with the cycling costs. We got a 2 go for Footfall Crater. Enchant land, target creature gains trample and haste till end of turn. Got that cycling 1. It's a 1-drop that we can drop if we feel the need to, like we think that we're gonna be going long, and might be more relevant in future builds of this once we get more stuff. It's in the right here. We got Flourishing Fox. It's uncommon, so we only got 2 of them right now. We got 2 of them in the box. As we open more stuff, hopefully we're going to be able to get more of that. It's whenever you cycle another card, put a 1/1 counter. It can get really big, and if we don't really need it, we can cycle it away. We got a 2nd copy of that. And now finally, this is our finisher, and then the rest of these are going to be 1-ofs. We only got 2 of our finisher right now. This probably, like, before things really start, before we really start taking this to FMM, I really, Friday Night Magic, I really want to get this up to 3. This is Zenith Flare. Zenith Flare deals X damage to any target, and you gain X life, where X is the number of cards with a cycling ability in your graveyard. We got 2 of those. And now the rest of these, we got a couple of the dual lands, life lands, and we got a bunch of 1-ofs. We got Survive Thundermane. It's one of those things that's recurring damage and sort of kind of like a small Zenith Flare on a stick, but you have to pay 2 for it and not big. It's like, and you're already cycling, that means you're paying a minimum of 3 just to do 2 damage and gain 2 life. Not a big fan. Valiant Rescuer, we only got 1 of them, even though I was uncommon. Not very happy with that, but, you know, gives 1/1s, gives us a lot of chump blockers, and it's got cycling too. For whatever reason, we don't need it. Boon of the Wishgather can refill our hands if we ever find ourselves in that place where we're at the end. We need to refill our hand because we kept cycling and all we got is lands. Or we can cycle it itself if we're not ready for it and we just need some more fodder. Channel Force, same sort of principle with sort of like getting past all the lands. It also allows us to do some damage at the same time. Ominous Seas has cycling on there for 2. We only have a couple cards that cycle for 2 because the idea is we want to keep it at 1 just so we can cycle as much as we want. But if we cycle 8 cards, well, if we draw 8 cards, we're going to draw the 1 plus we draw a card every time we cycle. If we get 8, we get an 8/8 Kraken. That's definitely something I would like to make probably only a 2 of, because we do go through a lot of our deck and maybe we don't need that. It's more of like a secondary or even tertiary win condition. Inspired Ultimatum. This is in here just sort of as a placeholder of a Zenith. It gives 5 more cards to help finish out, and sort of it's a Zenith Flare for if we had only 5 cards. But it just costs so much, it's just not very good. But it's in there right now. Now, this is going to allow us to draw an extra card for each cycling we do for the first time. We don't have that many instants and sorceries if you didn't notice. So it's not going to be very big. Definitely going to be something we're probably going to want to cut, but is pretty useful right now. Riel the Everwise. Mythos of Vardok, another thing. It's actually really effective against sort of wider strategies, or sort of we need to take out like 5 tokens. And then finally we got Unpredictable Cyclone. If a cycling ability of another non-land card would cause you to draw a card, instead exile cards from the top of your library. Until you exile a card that shares a type with the cycled card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then put the exiled card that wasn't cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. It's definitely, I haven't had a chance to do much with this yet because it, you know, as a one of, it doesn't come out very often, and when it does, usually I use its cycling ability because I'm not ready for it, or I'm not gonna have, there's already too much pressure on me to use it. So it's definitely something that's probably gonna end up being like maybe a 2 of, because first of all, it's gonna be hard to get a second one at just opening 1 pack a day randomly, and second of all, It's a 5-drop in something where we're doing a lot of 1-mana abilities over and over again every turn. But it can get out of control. So, as for the mana base, we got a Tranquil Cove, another Tranquil Cove, Shearwater Cliffs, second one of those, Windscarred Crag, got 3 Evolving Wilds, 1 of the appropriate Triomes, and then I think it's 4 mountains, 3 islands. Nope, it's 4 islands, and and that would be 5 plains. And that's the complete deck. That's what I was able to build most optimally out of the whole box. As far as how it's built right now, I'd probably put it at a tier 3.5 deck. And what do I mean by that? It's probably able to get up to it's probably able to fight up to you're gonna have to fight some people who aren't optimized. So they're gonna have to make some play errors, and they're gonna have to do a not top tier deck. Both of those things, if you want to be able to win, and if you want the advantage, you want someone running a second-rate deck, and a second-rate deck and making mistakes. So you can beat second-rate decks. You can beat sort of good decks that aren't really in the meta, but have someone with a lot of play errors. A high number of play errors relative to sort of tournament level play. I think the optimal build of this is probably the best you can make. This deck is probably a tier 1.5, where it can punch up to the top level if you're in a Friday Night Magic setting, but you're probably not going to be able to do much with it at sort of these Grand Prix and that type of thing. Now we're sort of limited to 1-ofs and 2-ofs for the rares, and it's going to take us a while to get the commons and the uncommons for this. So I think realistically what our build's going to end up being is probably like a tier 2.5, where we can hit probably everything that isn't top tier. We can probably punch up to there, but we're going to be at the disadvantage all the way. So that's it. That's what we built. Moving forward, we're just going to be opening a pack a day. Probably going to do that once a week, where we open all 7 at once and go through which upgrades we're going to be able to do. Anyway, thanks for watching this far. If you did, please leave a like, and let me know what you think of it. What do you think of this concept? Do you think it has potential? Do you think that I'm out of my mind? Let me know down below. And thanks for watching. Have a good day.